Welcome to the place where the takes are hot and the facts are optional. Where logic takes a back seat and the changes are unstoppable. It's the show that starts nowhere and still gets everywhere. So buckle up, lean in, don't try to keep control. You're not tuned in to the kings of the rebel roll. You're not tuned in to the kings of the rebel roll. The rebel roll.
Oh, yeah, another time here for the Ramble Authority. I'm Jay, he's Alan, and this is the show that starts nowhere and goes absolutely everywhere. Thanks for tuning in with us as always. And Alan, my friend, good to talk to you again. Let's get it kicked off here and see what's popping this week.
All right. Well, first, let me turn off the Bay City Rollers and we'll get rolling tonight.
Hadn't thought about that group in a moment. So,
Well, Jay, I'm going to start tonight with the best topic, and it's something you are not an expert on. I am an expert. You know, for the man who thinks Dumb and Dumber is too low for him, but will
didn't
watch
say that.
Canadian football. I don't know that I trust your taste in this, but we're going to talk about what is the best sitcom ever. Okay.
Oof.
And this is a hard one. I got it down to like four. So I'm going to start in reverse order. Okay.
All
And,
right.
and three of these you're going to hate. Okay. I already know this. So honorable mention is Curb Your Enthusiasm. I know you hate Larry David because he acts like he's smarter than you, but like I see a lot of Larry David in myself. I'm an old bald guy who is all about semantics. Um, it's a solid show. There's some great episodes. The next one um, would be number three is New Girl. Okay, Max Greenfield and Jake Johnson are comedy gold in that show. I know you hate Zoe Deschanel. I know,
She
but
sucks.
Max Greenfield and Jake Johnson are so good in that show. I mean, it's just fabulous. Okay, and so we're down to the final two. Okay, and this is what it really came down to. And I'm so the question is it Seinfeld or is it Big Bang Theory? Okay, um, Seinfeld's a great show, great cast, great acting, great writing. Another Larry David product. But I'm gonna lean Big Bang Theory. Okay, it had the longevity. Okay, and it had so much pop culture built into it, and became a pop culture icon in itself. And it still holds up. It is hilarious. The character development is great, and I mean, let's be honest. Sheldon Cooper, he was a quirky guy. I'm a quirky guy. It fits. I love the show. I still watch it every now and then. Um, It's actually the only one of these that I still watch. I occasionally watch New Girl, but I'm gonna say Big Bang Theory is the best sitcom ever. What do you got, Jay?
All right, so first off, to defend myself, I've watched two episodes of Curb Your Enthusiasm and had enough, but I did like Arrested Development. So
Well, that's a
put
good
that in
one.
there. I've never seen an episode of The New Girl. Um, I've only seen a few of Big Bang Theory, and I've watched exactly two episodes of Seinfeld. Um, the one about looking out the window, you know what I'm talking about, and the last one, because I felt like it was a cultural touchstone. Otherwise, I've seen 100 clips on, the socials and stuff. But I'm going to tell you that I will refute all of those things because the greatest sitcom ever is the Andy Griffith Show, sir. And I've seen every episode of that at least four times. The first five seasons with Don Knotts are absolute comedy gold. All the good laughs of today are built from that. Yeah, it's a little folksy and whatever, but you know what? So are all those people. And I loved it. I've been up to the town that's Mayberry's
Mount
based off of.
Airy.
Yeah, Mount Airy up here in North Carolina a few times. I That to me is the greatest sitcom ever. Now, growing up, we were a big Roseanne watching household, particularly my mom. She watched it all the way to the very end. I think I checked out somewhere in the later seasons, but those first few seasons are incredible. We used to like it was appointment television, the Halloween episode, because it was always a thing. Years later, found out Joss Whedon, who created Buffy, my favorite show ever, was a big part of the writing room of that, and you can kind of feel it if you know that. But yeah, I would say Andy Griffith's my favorite sitcom, and it's the best one ever. So,
Andy Griffith is a great show, okay?
yeah.
Fabulous show, really a cornerstone. I mean, you know, Don Knotts is incredible in that. Um, but I've never thought of it as a sitcom, I guess.
Oh, it
I
was
guess
the
because it
original
was,
sitcom. Yeah.
yeah, I guess so. And I mean, if we're gonna say that, we got to give I Love Lucy some due. It
Hmm.
is a bit over the top.
Honeymooners. Yeah.
Yeah, but I will constantly watch Big Bang Theory. It's like, oh, I want to watch this episode. I want to see this episode. And there are a few that really stick out. Um,
Yeah.
you should give it a whirl, okay? You're just nerdy enough, Jay, just to appreciate some of that
I
stuff.
don't know if I'm smart enough for that show. So,
Well, nobody is. Yeah,
well, yeah.
I'm not a physicist.
Oh, but I've met a few, so they're not anything like that. But anyway,
I stayed at Holiday Inn Express last night, but I don't know if
I
that pays the
mean, fair.
bills.
That's fair. So, well, all right. Well, I'm going to bring you a little something right now because I feel like as sports fans, we need this little pep talk, because money has infiltrated every level of sports ever and is systematically ruining all of it. But I want to give you a guide on how to fan as just a fan of anything, but particularly if you're a sports fan. First thing you got to do, you got to cut back your social media to about 75% less of what you normally keep up with because it is the cesspool of all things bad. So if you just get away from that, that'll help a ton. Select one or two podcast outlets, videos, people you watch that are in it for the fun. I strongly recommend if you're an NFL fan, the NFL Fantasy Ringer Fantasy show. 2 months of the year they turn it into the draft show, but those three guys are hilarious and they don't take anything seriously. Now they do it all from like the fantasy bent. So if you don't play fantasy football, you may not care, but you actually get good game previews out of it. So I recommend them for the NFL side. And on the college side, I'm a big fan of the Cover Three guys on CBS. They're a lot of fun. You can skip the gambling show if you don't want it because they do enough preview stuff to talk about it, and they do stay on top of the news of things. So, but their podcast is searchable. So if you want to skip that and just get to the picks and or the previews, they'll do all of it for you. Big fan of those guys. Get around people that are fun with it. And the other thing is, enjoy what you enjoy and don't let anybody take that away from you. Everybody's now bent where if you don't, it's the Ricky Bobby syndrome. If you're not first, you're last, and that is garbage. We do not live in that world for any of our lives coming up. Enjoy what your team is, have fun with it. And when they hit you up for money, say no thanks. Go talk to that PE that you've been talking to, and let it go, and just enjoy it. So that is my guide on how to fan in the modern era. Just find something you like, find people that are fun with it, and lean into that while we still have it, because chances are we won't have it that much longer.
Jay, I think those are some great points. I think sports are overexposed. Uh,
Mm,
there's too many 24-hour sports stuff. Like there's podcasts, there's news writers, there's radio shows, and it's just too much. Um, there's no room to just be a fan anymore. And so here's the thing, I'm a big football guy, specifically college football. And I will say this, and I'll get into this a little bit later, but the playoffs has ruined college football. Sure,
mm.
you get a one true champion, but wasn't it more fun when we were arguing about who should have been, the 1978 national champion? Should it have been, 10-0-1 Notre Dame or, 11-0 Texas? Um, and I understand why they did it, but so here's the thing, okay? They've devalued the games. If you're not in the top 15, top 20, your game doesn't mean anything. Um, Jay, I miss the old conferences. I miss the Big East. I miss Pac
Mhm.
12 after dark. I mean, when you had nothing to do and you happened to be awake at 11 or 12 o'clock at night on a Saturday night, and you're just watching Washington State and Arizona State play a 67-65 shootout, um, that was
It's entertaining.
fun.
Yeah.
I don't think people remember how much fun Maction used to be. You know, Nobody can comprehend how much fun it was to watch Akron and Buffalo play in a snowstorm on a Tuesday night running high school offenses. It was entertaining,
I'm
but
gonna
they've
I'm gonna
taken that from us.
I'm gonna say this about my fellow college football fan friends out there. If you're getting a little disillusioned with college football, two things. One, wait 5 years. This is all going to settle out and change. The big breakaway's coming, and then you can find your way back in. But two, go back to the NFL. The NFL lines up in the I formation. They run the ball. They also run the modern stuff. The presentation, though, is built for television. You're in and out in 3 hours and 15 minutes. If you get overtime, free football. You're lucky. It is a sport built for TV. It moves quickly. But I'll tell you this right now, just start watching EPL. You're going to be a lot more entertained and you'll probably enjoy it a lot more. Not that it's any
At
less
least they don't hide
corrupt.
their corruption.
Yeah, true. They just wear it. So yeah, that's how I'd say about that. So yeah, look, as a fan these days, you just have to accept that the powers that be are not interested in what you have to think. So you know what? Forget them. Just enjoy what you enjoy.
Yeah, and I think this leads into my next point. Since we are where we are in college football,
Hmm.
the conference championship games gotta go. And this is why. Okay. It's an extra game that means nothing. Alabama got the crap beat out of them in Atlanta by Georgia. And they still made the playoff. It didn't matter. It didn't have any impact on the actual seedings. And they told you that kind of before the game that it's like, yeah, if Alabama loses, they're probably still in. So there was no value for that. Now I get there's value to the conference. There corporate sponsors and partners that make a lot of money off of it. Um, but these games have got to go. They're pointless because they're obviously going to expand the playoff to probably 24 at some point. We're going to have to move the season back a week or two and get rid of the conference championship games. So, we're not playing college football to, July. And so they've got to go. Now, I do have an alternative idea for these money hungry people, such as Godfather Greg Sankey. Listen, EPL does this thing called the Community Shield, okay? Two teams that finish the highest play each other in a game to kick off the season. So how about the two best finishing conferences teams meet in, you know, Atlanta, Dallas, Nashville, Inslee, um, and they play a game to kick off the season. It'd be a great way to kick off the season to energize teams. Um, make a lot of money. There's a lot to play for. So, conference championship games have got to go. I will say this college football has one or maybe two more years with all the BS they're pulling before I just go NFL full time. Like, even though my team is at the top, uh, speaking, I'm a Bama fan, like, we're going to be in the conversation most of the time. It's exhausting. Like, it was much more fun when it wasn't all about the playoffs. When it's like, oh well, Mississippi State plays Arkansas this week in a driving rainstorm. Um, when it was about the football, and now it's about the money. Money ruins everything.
Yeah, look, pro football is about the money too, but it's also about the football because that's their job. So that's why I've gravitated the last few years way more to the NFL. I still watch college football, but don't take it that seriously. I do find it funny that Bama fans are ready to be done with the SEC championship game when you can't win them anymore. Because, when Dodge Charger and a couple of cheap suits and a bag full of McDonald's money got you a five-star wide receiver, it was easy to be on top then. But now, no. Yeah.
Those
Look,
were the days.
hey, you little pitchy dog. But but no, look, I think conference championship games are just a corporate event anymore. They're going away. It's going to happen. Like the latest Ross Dellinger thing in Yahoo said that, and so I think I mean it's going to occur. I miss the days when we had other ways of determining that, but I kind of liked it when it was on the field. And I'll be honest with you, we didn't know how good we had it with the 14 playoff. We really did have it good, and then we let idiots write books about death to the BCS. And well, this is where we are. I hope all the hipster communists that wanted to ruin college football are happy now. You got what you wanted. Everything sucks now. So that's my last say on that.
What you got for me, buddy?
Well, man, I'm going to switch to the world of work for just a second. Tend to do one of
Yee.
these. So look, the jokes and memes about LinkedIn, about how like setting off a bomb in your basement will teach you about B2B sales and all that kind of stuff. Those are true and they're real. Like some of that stuff is a joke. I do give um Fernando Mendoza a lot of credit. He's actually sponsored by LinkedIn, but he's like made a whole thing out of his off season of being unemployed and looking for a job. It is a joke and stuff, but there is some good use to it. I'm going to give you like three quick tips on how to make the most out of your LinkedIn. You should be following people and topics that are in your field if it's a field that benefits from LinkedIn. If you're a plumber, probably not your field. Cool, don't worry about it. But if you do other stuff, you do white collar work in particular, it's a good place. Follow thought leaders, comment on their stuff because believe it or not, the LinkedIn algorithm actually works. Like if you start, comment on nuclear physicist work, you're going to see a lot of nuclear physicist stuff in your feed, and a lot of nuclear physicists are going to start connecting with you, following you. That's the second thing you should do. Connect to people who have interesting jobs that you just want to learn from. Easiest way to do that is pick a company you're interested in or find an alum who has a job that you're interested in from the university you went to and just say, hey, I'd love to get 10 minutes of your time sometime to just chat about your work. Sounds interesting. People love to talk about their job, particularly if they're on there. It's a good way to network. And the last thing is just be intentional about what you're using it for. If you do that, you'll get a lot out of your LinkedIn page. If you let it run over you, then you're going to get all the schmoes with the B2B sales jokes and all that kind of stuff going on. But if you curate it, it'll actually work. It's kind of like a garden. You got to actually like tend to it a little bit, but it's worth your time still, even though it is kind of funny.
I thought you were going to go with "Life's a Garden, Dig It" there, but
Not
um,
exactly that
you,
old.
I don't use LinkedIn enough. I have a profile out there. Those are some really good tips. I probably do need to be more intentional about who I follow, what I do, to maybe try to grow my corporate presence, so to speak.
Mhm.
Um, so those are good advices. I have no notes on that. I am not smart enough in the LinkedIn universe to even comment on that.
I mean, it's worth your time. It is. So, what's
It
next on
really
your
is. I mean,
agenda?
I think there's. Oh, Jay, this is a very interesting question and something I've actually spent a lot of time pondering in my life for some reason. Who
Because
is
you're a
the
middle-aged
greatest
guy and this is what you think about.
I guess so, it's that like whole escapism, like there's got
Hmm.
to be something more than the 9 to 5 grind. And so
Hmm.
I think about these guys who, in, the Middle Ages and during the Age of Enlightenment, were just exploring the world with nothing between them except maybe a horse or a boat. And so we're gonna discover who is the greatest explorer ever, Jay. And there are some top contenders to this. Okay, it's a long list. Now, most people would probably jump to like Marco Polo or Christopher Columbus. Um, and to me, that's kind of like being a LeBron James fan. Like it's overrated. Now, there are much better guys out there. Well, let's just hit some of the highlights. Okay, so Marco Polo, he discovered or traveled the Silk Road and basically connected Italy to China. Christopher Columbus uh, discovered the Caribbean. He did not discover the United States, but he discovered Hispaniola and Cuba and exploited those people. But I'm gonna throw some names out here that are not popular. Okay, so first of all, I have to go with the British explorer James Cook. James Cook explored more of the ocean than almost any man on Earth. He brought
Hmm.
mapping and cartography into a new age. He didn't discover Hawaii. He found Hawaii. people had already discovered it and been living there for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Another one that I would point to is, people talk about Magellan, first one to counter circumnavigate the globe. That's a bit of a misnomer though, because Magellan died on the voyage while his ship completed it. He did not. The first person to circumnavigate the globe was ooh, I just lost that thought for just a second. Was Sir Francis Drake. He was
Yeah.
actually the first person to circumnavigate the globe. Then you got, modern pioneers like Jacques Cousteau, who, all the underwater exploration. You got Ernest Shackleton, who did all the Arctic exploration. I mean, so let's be honest, like we were exploring the world well into the 20th century. That's how vast and hostile places on the planet, though. I would be remiss without mentioning Leif Erikson, the first European to set foot on North America in around 1000 AD. Just let that sink in. The guy made it across the Atlantic 1000 years ago. But guys, I'm going to go with somebody you've never heard of, and he is the greatest explorer. Inbi Bubata. Okay. Never heard of him, right?
Nope.
He was Moroccan, okay? And he was a scholar and he traveled the Islamic world. He even made it up into Europe, like into Italy and stuff. But over his lifetime, he journeyed over 70,000 miles. And you're
Oof.
talking about a guy who lived in the mid 13th century, so the Dark Ages. The guy went 70,000 miles on a horse. Okay?
With no name?
Yes, with no name. So now, he is probably the greatest just because of the time he did it. I mean, you're talking about he lived from 1304 to the 1360s, and
Yeah.
he went from Morocco up through Libya to Egypt and down through the Middle Eastern area and then up into Europe. Um, and he brought, things back that helped improve the lives of Moroccans as far as just knowledge, because at that point in the world, like knowledge was everything. Like it was so segmented that some areas knew things that other areas didn't. Now, I will say, my favorite explorer was Coronado, but that's just because he was looking for the lost city of gold. Jay, I've tried to get you to go on that exploration with me, but you refused to. Um,
I don't think it exists, so that's why. I'd much rather
sure
find
it
Atlantis.
does.
So
Well, I'm sure that's
I
sunk off the coast of Africa somewhere.
probably. I can't add much to your list. You took Leif Erikson, which was going to be one of my answers, but I'll give you a more 20th century one. Bob Ballard deserves a nod in the book.
Mm,
Underwater
yeah.
archaeologist, naval officer. Largely credited with discovering the Titanic when he was doing the Hunt for Red October mission that we now don't talk about. I mean that the man was a genius in infusing modernish technology with exploration, and still champions it to this day. He's still around. So I think I grew up watching like Jacques Cousteau and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, Bob Ballard kind of picked up that mantle, I think, and I've always been a fan of the way he approached the work. So I would put him up there. We should probably give a nod to Lewis and Clark though, without which we wouldn't know where Kansas City was. So or
Well, I don't think
maybe
they would know
where
where
Missouri
Kansas
was.
City was if they didn't have Sacagawea.
Well, I mean, also fair, but
Yeah, well, let me ask
behind
you this,
every
okay?
man hunting something is a woman asking for directions. Oh, so
So
but
let
hey,
me
at least
ask
she had
you
the
this,
the,
okay?
the wherewithal to ask. Hmm?
Let's say you were not in mortal danger, okay? You would
Hmm.
survive, okay?
Ooh.
Would you climb Everest or take a submersible to the Challenger Deep?
Ooh. Probably the ocean part because I'm fascinated by the how much water is on this planet and how little of it we've explored. Um,
It's
yeah,
sad that they find plastic and beer bottles at the bottom of the Marianas
I
Trench.
mean, it's just like the Tennessee River, so everything's Alabama at some point. But yeah, that's my thought. If I didn't have to, I would I would do the ocean thing. I
Yeah,
wouldn't do the
you
mountain.
know, I might climb mountains, but I have no desire to go to Everest. I might do like a Kilimanjaro or something,
Fair.
or a
Yeah.
Fuji. Uh, but I have no desire to have oxygen tanks and only be able to stand in line at the top of the world for like 2 seconds before I got to get out of there.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Just give me the submersible as long as it's not built by an idiot who thinks going down in a PVC pipe with duct tape and an Xbox controller is a good idea. So let me have someone who, maybe has engineered before. So, all right. So you brought up sitcoms earlier, and I've decided to do a twist on that. I'm just going to ask this question. All right. The greatest ending to a TV show ever is fill in the blank. There's a lot of contenders for this. Really is. I'm going to sit here and tell you, I think it's Breaking Bad, followed
I knew
closely
you
by
were
The
going to do
Shield.
that.
But, well, it is the perfect ending. All right. All the bad guys get it. Jesse gets away and we know he gets away because I saw El Camino, and Walt gets what's coming to him. Like it is a great wrap up on that. Now, my until I saw Breaking Bad, my answer for that was always The Shield, which is the forerunner for all these kind of shows on the FX. And the way that that ended was so combination gut wrenching and infuriating that I knew they had hit it. I was like, when you leave people with that, you've done a good thing. But those are my two nominees for greatest ending ever. And the reason for it is it's not only that they tie it up, but they do so in a way without it feeling like it's Disney Star Wars fan service stuff, where they're actually like making a point. They have a story. They follow through on the through lines that they put together. That's my argument for those two shows.
Well, Jay, you took my number one answer, okay? And in an alternate reality, we would be talking about how Lost had the greatest ending to any television show ever. But seeing as how I'm still maybe a little upset by that, which maybe that's a good thing, I will tell you
Yeah.
something funny. During the pandemic, my daughter decided she wanted to watch Lost. And I said, oh, okay, I'll watch it with you. And I
Hmm.
started watching the first season and I was falling back in love. It's like, oh no, 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 no. And I said, you gotta do this on your own. It's like
Yeah.
I'm gonna be too mad again. So I'll go here's the thing. Breaking Bad was absolutely perfect. Breaking Bad is maybe one of the most perfect television shows ever, okay?
Yeah.
And let's be honest, there have been a lot of hit and misses. Game of Thrones did not stick the landing.
Hmm.
Sopranos was all right, but I'm gonna go another one. Better Call Saul. Okay.
Mm. Worthy contender. Yeah.
You know, Jimmy gets caught
Hmm.
and he makes that sweetheart deal that he's only going to go to prison for 7 years. And then Kim's going to confess to her part in the murder. And he's realized he's got to come clean. So he comes
Mm.
clean. He gets 86 years in a maximum security prison. And then there's like that last scene of like him and Kim at the prison smoking one last cigarette together. Like it came full circle and it kind of back to the
Yeah.
whole Breaking Bad thing. Like Jimmy McGill slash Saul Goodman got what was coming to him. But it was nice to see him like stand up and take it and like gain Kim's respect back.
Well, both of those characters, Walter White and Jimmy Saul, did that because in the end they realized that there was no other way. They had to go down for it. So Walt got, Jesse's respect back and a little bit of his own. And at that point, if you remember the last episodes, he had admitted to Skylar and anybody else that would listen that like, I didn't do this for cancer money. I did it for me. He had accepted his own like role in all of it, and he went down with the ship. Same with Jimmy's speech in the courtroom. It's an incredible show. I agree with both of those.
So
So,
I got to throw one other thing into the Breaking Bad part, okay?
mhm,
That the ending is so good. You know, he goes out to where they're making the meth and he
mhm,
realizes the pressure gauge is wrong. And that's why Jesse
yeah,
couldn't hit the purity right. And it's like, no, he
mhm,
had created the perfect, you know,
yeah,
it was just perfect. I mean, it was television at its finest.
yeah. And then he died with the cops coming in, so as he should have. So, no, I agree. All right, very cool. Well, We're at the point where it's time to do our recurring segments. So who's getting off the lawn this week, dude?
I'm gonna take. I'm showing my age, I guess. You probably can't see the white in the beard, but it is there, guys. Why do grocery stores have to keep changing their layouts? Why do they have
Private
to
equity.
remodel and move and move everything around? Why do they have to move the bread to a different aisle? I've learned in my grocery store. I know where everything is. Then every 2 years you change it, and I got to learn it all over again. Is this some like rat in a maze? Or are you trying to keep my mind like agile and nimble? It's like, no, I need to be able to run into the grocery store and go grab me some taco seasoning and some salsa because my wife says we're out and we're having tacos tonight, and not spend 20 minutes trying to figure out where the freaking salsa is.
I'm going to tell you why
So
they
get
do it.
off my lawn.
I'll tell you why they do it, my friend. Grocery stores, like a lot of other retail, time equals money. More time you spend in there, more you're going to spend. You go in for the taco seasoning and the salsa, but all of a sudden you're confronted with 2 for 1 Diet Pepsi 12 packs. Well, it must be my birthday. Or, you go in and you see, like, did you know kumquats were on sale and in season? We must have them. What do you make with kumquats? Don't know. Guess I'll find out later. But that's why. That's why they do it. It's all a game. Yeah.
Also, an honorable mention is we need to find a way to have sumo oranges year round. Can some like geneticists please get on that?
I don't know, man. The last time geneticists started fooling with stuff, we all locked down for a long time. So maybe they take a pass on this one. I'm gonna just go ahead and say that. All right, my week to shine a little light on a creator highlight of the show, and we're gonna throw it to our buddy Brian with Brian's Vinyl Records. Got a YouTube
Woo
channel, got a
woo.
podcast, got a Substack too. If you're into vinyl and music and all that kind of stuff, trust us. Our Gridiron Breakdown brother Brian is your guy because the dude knows his stuff. And it's not just like, oh, look at this like super triple deluxe Kiss Live 3 record. It is some of that, but it's also like practical things like here's how to clean your vinyl and keep it from warping. Here's how to find a good turntable without spending $1 billion on one. Here's how to really, get into the thing. And I think it is a fun thing to participate in, not only because he's my friend, but because I'm not a big collector and stuff, but I find it fascinating to listen to people who are talk about it and get passionate about it. And Brian really does have a great passion for it. So all of it's linked in the comments section of either the pod or the video here. Check out Brian's show. Brian's Final Records is definitely something you should be paying attention to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not into vinyl, but I've have some vinyl from my mother-in-law, and some of it needed to be cleaned. And I reached out to Brian and said, "Hey, what can I do?" And he said, "Well, you can try this or this. This may work." Some really good advice. So he's very knowledgeable. Highly recommend it.
Absolutely. Speaking of recommend, we wish you'd recommend this show. Share it to other people. We got YouTube, we got Apple, Spotify, wherever you find the pod, or if you're listening to the video, hit that like, hit that subscribe, follow us, share the show on your socials. We appreciate the support. So until next time, when you might hear Alan say,
Get off my lawn.
thanks for listening to the Ramble Authority.
Welcome to the place where the takes are hot and the facts are optional. Where logic takes a back seat and the changes are unstoppable.